Hi, I'm Caroline Bateman. I founded Achieve Now because I wanted to pass on what helped me take my 3 dyslexic children from totally failing in school to excelling. Over the years, I've had the privilege of helping many students achieve their full potential. I help all students, but I particularly specialise in students that learn differently, like dyslexics. If helping students get better grades is something that interests you, I suggest you subscribe to my channel, hit the bell button, and you'll be informed when I create new videos. One of the most effective ways I help students is to enable them to get better grades in formal exams, because this really influences the life opportunities available to them. And I do this in 2 ways. I help students revise effectively, but I also teach them how to use technology to get much better grades when they are actually sitting the exams. Now, to use technology in exams, it's really important that it's a student's normal way of working, not just to tick the boxes so they get permission to use the technology, but if students are not proficient using tech, it will be more of a hindrance than a help while they come to take the exams. So in this video, I'm going to share the technology that can drastically improve results for students in exams. But I'm going to also allude to how students need to use this technology in their day-to-day school lives, because exams are just the culmination of school life. And if students get better grades in day-to-day schoolwork, this will help them perform better in exams. So in this video, I'm going to quickly share with you information from 2 external sources that make it blindingly obvious how important it is for students to be able to use technology in exams. Now, both of the articles are UK-centric, but the principles apply no matter what country you live in. I just happen to live in the UK. I'm then going to explore what makes exams and school so hard for students with learning differences. I will then explain why technology is ideally placed to help students overcome these difficulties, and I'll introduce you to some of the technology both for exams and to help with schoolwork. So let me start off by explaining why it's necessary for students to use technology in exams. The first source I want to look at is an article in The Independent, and in it talked about the fact that dyslexics were discriminated against in the current GCSE exam system. GCSEs are what students in England take when they are 16, and the article concentrated on English and maths. The reason they did this is these are really key qualifications. Without English and maths GCSE, students are not able, or are very limited, in the further and higher education courses they can do. We learnt that learners without special needs, 70.6% of students passed, whereas learners with dyslexia or other learning needs, only 35% passed. That's a huge difference. You are twice as likely to get grades 9 to 4 if you're a learner without special education needs. Now, we know that dyslexia has nothing to do with intelligence. Therefore, we would expect these percentages to be very, very similar, but they're not. The article went on to suggest the use of technology in exams, as this would make them fairer and would better prepare students for both higher education and the world of work. In this video, I will introduce technology that can obliterate this appalling inequality, enabling students with learning differences to achieve their full potential in exams and go on to study subjects where their natural talents will shine. My second source is also UK-centric. The JCQ advised exam boards, and we can read here that they advise the use of technology in exams for students with learning differences. They point out that it allows candidates to work independently, which is far superior to having a human reader, particularly when the exam is testing reading comprehension, like the English language comprehension paper. But I'll tell you more about that later. Sadly, despite the use of technology in exams being advised, it is woefully underutilised by most schools. As a consequence, many students with learning differences underachieve academically, which can result in drastically reduced life opportunities. It's worthwhile asking the very basic question, why do dyslexics underachieve in exams? And also, why they underachieve in school? Every exam is as much a test of speed as it is of knowledge, and therefore speed reading is really important. If you read the exam question wrong because you're panicking and you're not a good reader, chances are you could write correct information but not get many marks because you're not answering the question that has been posed. Exams require students to remember a lot and be able to recall that quickly in an exam. They need to be organised and use time management, and they then need to write really quickly to get as much information down that they can achieve marks for. These are all things that dyslexics struggle with. Let's have a look at school. In the classroom, the chalk and talk method of teaching, where a teacher introduces new information expecting students to listen and copy information from the board or take notes while acquiring new information, is cognitively difficult for anybody, but it's really hard for students with learning difficulties. When children are doing homework, they're expected to read to learn. So they might be reading the notes that they made in class that day, or they might have to read worksheets in the classroom or at home, or textbooks, or photocopies of textbooks, or do research on the web. All of those require reading before they can learn. And whenever students need to be assessed, they need to write. Very, very few marks are given for oral exams. And what happens with dyslexic students is they often spend a disproportionate amount of time producing written work, and it doesn't look that good, and therefore they often get poor grades that don't reflect the amount of time they put into it. And so students can wrongly believe that they're stupid, they're not very good at a subject, when actually, in fact, they're just not very good at writing. So how does technology help dyslexic students? To better understand that, I think we really need to appreciate the importance of reading at school. When students first start school, it's all about learning to read. But once students have learnt to read, they have to read in order to learn. When dyslexic students start school, there's no difference in their attainment levels than any other student. As students get older, the reliance on reading to learn and writing to be assessed increases, and therefore this attainment gap also increases. Where I think education often fails dyslexic students is they have completely confused literacy for intelligence. Literacy is not the same as intelligence, and this is particularly noticeable when it comes to marking written work. When it comes to the quality of any writing, there are two aspects. There's literacy and there's content, and I would say that literacy, while important, is not what is really needed in the world of work. So literacy would be about your sentence structure, your spelling, your grammar and your vocabulary, all things that I'm not very good at, but any basic word processing package could correct easily. Whereas your intelligence is demonstrated by how you understand things. Are you creative? Do you have ideas? Are you insightful? Can you make helpful observations? Can you analyse problems and solve them? Are you innovative? Is what you're writing useful or helpful? This is what's important in the world of work, and yet this is what we often concentrate on in school. I find that students can get hung up on this side of things and therefore not concentrate sufficiently on the content, when in actual fact they could be really gifted at a subject. Research has shown that as dyslexics go on to higher education, where the emphasis is far more on the content or their intelligence rather than literacy, dyslexics go on to shine. They get first-class degrees, whereas people that are very good at spelling and grammar are not necessarily good at the problem solving, the innovation and the creativity. Dyslexics tend to be very creative, great at solving problems, but rubbish at literacy, which is why I teach students how to use technology to concentrate on the content. I've noticed a performance gap that spirals over time, and I'll try to explain quickly why. Often students put in a lot of work to produce written work that they hand in, but they get poor grades. They compare themselves to their peers that seem to have spent a lot less time on doing that work, and they assume that they can't be very good. They have low self-esteem. They just think, I'm not very good at this subject, which makes them anxious, anxious, they assume that they're not academic, they might even think that they're stupid, and after a while of working hard and getting poor grades, it's really easy to give up, to have low expectations, to stop trying and find alternative ways to be accepted, be it drama or sport or even becoming the class clown. I've made it my goal for the last 6 years to find technology that enables dyslexics and all learners to overcome any problems they might have with literacy, so they can just concentrate on learning, understanding and producing good content. So what technology would help dyslexics and other learners get better grades? Here is what we expect students to do at school. And within Reading to Learn, we have the technologies of text-to-speech, electronic textbooks, immersive reader, and dyslexia-friendly fonts. All of those help students read to learn, and I have videos for each one of those subjects. When it comes to classroom teaching, there are brilliant online resources that teach the way students learn and allow them to go at their own pace. When it comes to taking notes, I would always ask teachers for electronic notes and use text-to-speech to read them, but there are also great note-taking apps and smart pens, and I personally would not be without my smart pen. And when it comes to checking understanding, there are fantastic quizzes that enable teachers to work out exactly what students have understood. When I teach, I really favour online videos to teach students, and I always use a lot of quizzes to check understanding. And that's particularly important for me because I teach groups of students of all ages and abilities. Using videos allows students to go at their own pace. When it comes to writing to be assessed, there's touch typing, predictive text and dictation. When it comes to technology to help with exams, with reading, I recommend a computer reader. With writing, I recommend students be laptop users. Dictation and predictive text can also be used in exams, but being a laptop user is the easiest access arrangement to get in the UK when it comes to writing. Dictation is a lot more difficult because each student would need to have a room of their own, which makes the logistics very, very difficult. Hence, I create a lot of videos on how typing helps students improve grades. And when it comes to memory, recall, organisation and time management, rather than technology, I use different strategies and techniques that I teach students to improve each of those areas. So if we go back to English GCSE, now what I'm suggesting will not help with Maths GCSE other than having the questions read aloud, but it will help with any essay-based subject. So not just English, we're talking history, RS, physical education, any exam that requires students to write essays. This technology will be transformational. Where possible, I always recommend that my students use a computer reader in exams. This is independent learning. It can be used in any exam and it just reads the questions out aloud to students. This is particularly transformational when it comes to English language comprehension papers because human readers are not allowed to read the comprehension text in exams, and that is fair because the exam is designed to test students' reading comprehension. But a computer reader is classed as independent learning and can therefore be used to read the comprehension text out aloud to students during exams. This is transformational. It makes it much fairer, and it could easily be the difference between a pass and a fail for this essential exam to go on to higher education. I also recommend their laptop users in exams. If students are laptop users in exams, then they can type their answers, and if they can touch type, it's really easy to copy all the correct spellings without slowing down. So this is what I consider the winning combination for any essay-based exam. Most people haven't heard of computer readers, so how can you find out more? Well, I have a video about that. And if you want to know how typing in an exam can really increase your grades, I've created a video that explains this table, and it basically shows that students with learning difficulties who find exams very difficult, if they type, they can write so much more and therefore make up for their difficulties by writing more in the finite time available to them. To find out more about how typing improves the quality of written work, I've created lots of different videos. Here are the details. If you want to know more about how technology can help students take notes in class, this is a playlist I need to add more to, and this is a video that talks about the smart pen that I could not live without. And if you want to know more about technology that helps students learn, I've created lots of different videos that will help, and I've also created a number of different playlists, and this is particularly designed for teachers to help them test understanding in lessons, and this will help you understand more about access arrangements. Truthfully, literacy is mistaken for intelligence way too often in school. But the great news is that technology enables students to overcome any difficulties they would have with literacy, and it empowers all learners to achieve their full potential. I hate the fact that too many children that are really bright underachieve academically, and they wrongly believe that they are stupid, when life-transforming technology is freely available. And when I say freely, the vast majority of the technology that I share with students is free, and that isn't free is very reasonably priced, and people aren't using it because it's too expensive or it hasn't been invented yet. It's because they do not know that it already exists, and as a consequence, way too many students are underachieving needlessly. If you'd like to find out more, I create many helpful videos for parents, teachers and students. The goal of Achieve Now, and therefore this channel, is to help learners achieve their full potential. And to this end, I create many free resources. And here are just a few of the free resources I have created. And in the details below, I'll tell you how you can download those. If you found this video helpful, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you then hit the bell button, you'll be informed when I create new videos. Thanks for watching.